The most difficult thing about it was the statics and dynamics, which are the basics of engineering. Not having my license to stop me from getting promotions at jobs as well as in leadership roles. After failing the fifth time, I was very discouraged. Your course, really, really, I highly recommend your course to anyone who is preparing for the exam. Do not give up. Do not give up. EIT made me more confident in knowing that I can pass the PE.
Hello, guys, welcome back to the Genie interview series where I interview engineer community members who've passed their FE exam. Today, we meet DeAnna, who graduated in 2010 with honors. Now, even though she excelled in school, the FE exam was a huge hurdle for her because she struggled to find the study material that helped her understand the FE problems and concepts. After years of trial and error and failing the FE exam 5 times, DeAnna figured out what worked and what didn't work for her. So, if you have been out of school for a while or you failed the FE exam before and now you're trying to pass your FE, you're going to resonate with DeAnna's story. Keep watching because she shares everything that she did to pass her FE exam. DeAnna, let's go back a little bit to your college years and tell us what kind of student were you back then?
In college, I was on the dean list every semester. I made A's and B's in all of my courses, so I was a pretty determined and dedicated student.
Okay, so you were a really good student. Did you
hmm
graduate in 4 years?
I graduated in 4 years, magna cum laude.
Wow,
Yeah,
you really 4 years. Wow, okay,
yeah.
that's really impressive. I say that because it really took me a long time to actually graduate. Um, and so yeah, that's pretty good. Now, I know you failed the FE exam 5 times.
Yes.
Being a really good student back in college, how
hmm
did you feel when you failed the FE exam that many times?
I felt intimidated, and I also questioned was this career path for me? Because I was a really good student and I just could not pass this test. And it was very important for me to pass just to make sure, I had those credentials for work and to get a job and to also excel in my career. I was really intimidated and I almost just forgot about it. Prior to taking your class, um, I used to, when I was studying the fifth time for the FE, I would look on YouTube videos, and that's how I found you. And I saw that you had very good, detailed, you know, problems for the FE, and so I understood very well. The fifth time, I didn't purchase your course because I feel like watching some of the YouTube videos that you had out were pretty good. But then when I failed the fifth time, I was like, well, this is my last. This is the last option. This is the last resort, and so I purchased your courses, and so that's kind of how I passed. So because after purchasing your courses, everything was so detailed. You explained everything that made so much sense to me, and so I walked in on the sixth time try, very confident.
So you graduated in 2010. When did you start
hmm
preparing for your FE exam? When was the first time you took it?
The first time I took it was 2011. I took it and I obviously didn't pass. And then I gave it another try where my job that I was working with, then they pay for a course for us to take. And the course was okay, but it didn't break it down for me to give me a good understanding. It was kind of like something you should already know type of thing. And so my job paid for it and everything. And so I went in thinking that I was prepared and obviously I wasn't. And then I passed. So I didn't, the next year I tried again. And so at that particular time, I was working on my master's. And so I was like, um, you know what? I'm just going to take the break from the FE and just focus on my master's. And so took me a few years to get my master's because I was working and going to school at the same time. And so I said, once I finish my master's, I'm gonna get back heavy on studying for the FE. And so I picked up back in 2019, and I took it 2019, 20, and 21. And I obviously didn't pass it then. And so the summer, June 2022, is when I finally passed it. I started studying earlier this year, and I really focused on and locked in for months so that I can pass this test.
Okay. So when you first so let's just go back to 2019 when you started. So you got your master's, and after that you started studying for your FE again. What do you think you
Mhm.
struggled with the most when it comes to passing the FE? What was the most difficult thing about it?
The most difficult thing about it was the statics and dynamics, which are the basics of engineering, kind of what I was struggling with the most. And at that time, I think 2011, 2012, when I took it, chemistry was on the FE. And I struggled the most. So when they took it off, I was ecstatic and I was like, oh, yes, I can do it now. And so 2019 when I pick it back up. So I felt a little bit more confident when I took chemistry off of it because I just didn't do well in chemistry. But statics gave me a little problem, and dynamics, especially dynamics, was my most. The,
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of civil engineers, we don't like dynamics. I think it's,
no,
yeah, it's a topic that we struggle
yeah.
with a lot. Like a lot of people could relate to that. Now, what resources did you use before you purchased our courses? What other study resources that you used before?
Like I said earlier, I took the School of PE
Okay.
course and PPI to pass course as well. And I also used the Lindbergh book. All of them are great courses. However, like I said, they don't break it down as well as you did for us to understand. And then I had been out of school for a while, so all of this was I was kind of just a crash course of all of my 4 years in 6 months. And so it was a lot of things that I forgot and a lot of things that didn't make sense to me. So taking those courses like the using the Lindbergh resources or PPI to pass. Those things were, they're great resources. However, it didn't break it down as well as you did because they made the assumption that you should already know certain things. And so that's what my struggle was.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a common thing that people would actually mention is just like the breakdown, just making sure that, we go back to the basics and cover everything, and that sometimes like other professors might just skip through it. It's like just assuming that you remember stuff. Why did you want to pass your FE exam?
I wanted to pass the job that I had coming out of college. It was a R&D job, research and development job. So the emphasis on passing your FE wasn't, it wasn't necessary. So that's kind of
Mm.
why I didn't take it as, kind of serious. But as I felt kind of stagnant at that job, and I didn't want to stop myself to put myself in this box and just be in R&D, my entire career. So I wanted to put myself in a position to be able to apply for other jobs and kind of broaden my expertise area in civil engineering. And I also didn't want not having my license to stop me from getting promotions at jobs as well as in leadership roles. So that's why I just really wanted to get my FE and also, more importantly, to get my PE license.
Okay. All right, awesome. So uh, fast forward, so you started studying 2019, and then in 2021, and then you said you found us through YouTube. Is that how you found it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, What made you decide to get our courses?
After failing the 5th time, I was very discouraged, and I almost just, like I said, I almost just quit. And so I just, and I got a new job as well. And so it's more in design. And I was like, I really want to, if I'm going to be designing things, I need to really have this credential behind my name so that I can get my PE. And so that was another kind of great motivator to really, get me to take it again. And so I said, well, this is the last resort. I'm going to purchase Kenza's class and see how does this work out for me. And so like I said, I locked in earlier this year for about 3 or 4 months of hardcore studying. And it really helped. It was really, and I became really successful. You do not know how happy I was to see that green pass when I logged in.
Okay, so what would you say the things that you found really helpful in our courses and they were really effective and helped you pass your FE exam?
The entire course was really, really helpful. Like I said, I really liked how you break everything down and let us know. Just, I guess for me, my learning, how I learn is I need to know this why this happened. And so
Mm.
you tell that very, very good, like why this should go in this order. So that's how I learn. I need to know the why. Why is this even important? And so that's kind of how I grasp things. And also I'm a visual learner as well. And so you break it down really, really well for me to grasp and understand. And so that's how I was successful.
Okay. Did you take any practice exams?
Yes. So how I studied was so each section, the morning section, I broke each subject area down. And so I studied for about a week on each subject. So, and if I didn't understand it by the end of the week, when I did practice problem, I probably stay a little longer on that particular subject. So after I took the studied everything in the morning session, I took I had like 3 or 4 practice exams, I think, and I took one practice exam after the first morning section, after studying the morning section. And then after that, when I felt a little comfortable or I just knew what I needed to focus more on, I went on to study for the afternoon session. And so after studying for the afternoon session, I took another exam, the another practice exam. And so I kind of knew exactly where I were. And so after studying all of the subjects areas for the morning and the afternoon, what I did for, I think I had a month in between before I took the test after studying everything. And so I just took and studied the practice exams. So every weekend I would take a practice exam to kind of get me in the mood, the setting of the test, and to kind of think about the type of problems that would be on the test. And you kind of really everything that you put emphasis on and said, this you will say I had this problem on the test. I would make note of that, of which problem it was, and I would study and make sure I understood that particular problem. Because a lot of the what I have seen, since I have taken it so many times, that the problems are kind of really they're not the same problems but the same concept. So so that was kind of helpful to know.
Okay. And do you remember what was like your lowest score in your practice exam and what was your highest?
Um, my lowest score, I didn't want to base it off of numbers because numbers kind of scare me. So I kind of based it off of understanding. Do I understand it better
Mm.
from one week to the next? Because I didn't want to kind of numbers can be intimidating, and so that's why I didn't really score myself or anything.
That's very interesting because the reason why I'm asking you this because I
Mhm.
get a lot of emails from students where like when they get to that point, because I always tell you guys take a practice exam here and then take it here. And so when they get to that point, they take a practice exam and if they score low, I would get an email. They're freaking out. And they're like, oh my God, I scored low. Should I push my exam? Should I reschedule? Right. And so this like a lot of students start panicking. But then your approach is completely different. You're like, I am not even gonna look at how much I got. I'm just gonna focus on making sure that I get familiar with the problems and the whole exam experience, and then just make
Mhm.
sure that I understand my mistakes.
Right.
That's interesting.
Because what I noticed, especially for, we're just gonna take status for instance. I noticed that they would have um, two different problems for statics for this, and then two different type of problems for that. And it won't be like I said, it was not the same exact problems, but it's the same concept. And so that's kind of how I had to change my thinking. It's like you have just I didn't want to focus on the numbers because, like you said, it could be intimidating. You can get scared. You can want to continuously push the FE back, and then you never take it. And so I just wanted to focus more on do I understand it, and just familiarize myself because, like I said, once you know the kind of problems, it's pretty much going to be the same if you understand the concept.
Right. Now, what were some of the study tips that you found very effective?
Some of the study tips that I found very effective were especially when you was like, don't cram. If you find yourself getting tired, just take a break and then come back to it because sometimes when you're studying for something, you can continuously just. I know for me, my anxieties gets high, and if I continuously just study something every day, I tend to not remember it. So sometimes I would have to take a couple of day breaks and then come back to the material. And then you're like, okay, that's now my brain is good and it's fresh and you're ready to learn. And then, exercising and getting good sleep. So those are some great study tips that I got from you.
Why do you think you had such high anxiety?
Because I wanted to I guess for being such a great student, I just wanted to get this milestone, you know, done and over with. And it was so, it was becoming discouraging. And so that's why my anxiety was like, am I even, like I said earlier, am I even good enough? Should I have even taken this career path? And so it was just a matter of kind of no, just knowing for me and how I look at it is getting these licenses and studying for these exams. Make sure you know what you have your what you have studied during school, and so that's how I kind of looked at it as well. Once I pass this FE, that lets me know that I actually learned and grasped, and I'm able um, to do my job. I'm a subject matter expert,
Right. So when you were studying on your last attempt, you felt like there were a lot of self-doubt about like did you have that? Did you have self-doubt like am I gonna make this? Like am I gonna actually pass this exam? Did you have any of that as you were going through our course?
Not this time around because
Mm.
this time around I felt more confident because like I said, you broke it down where I could understand it. And it was like, oh, okay, this is actually easier than I thought it was. And when I went into the test that day, I was like, this is too easy. And I kind of was like, I could have passed this a long time ago. Because it was really kind of I wouldn't say common sense because if you don't study, if you're not studying engineering, that wouldn't be the right thing to say. But if you have studied it, then it's kind of like, okay, it's really simple and easy to know. Because of course on the exam, they're not gonna tell you to work this long and problem. It's basically knowing how to solve problems quickly. And can you identify, because one problem I had on there, that I had to had two that had forces in equilibrium, and they asked me, um, if I remove one force, would it still be in equilibrium?
Hmm.
So it was things like that, and it was for up to me to know. Well, if this force is going this way, this force is going that way, and this force is going in this way, then I could determine whether it's in equilibrium or not. So it's kind of those kind of quick, easy questions, and I was like, oh my god, this is so easy, and it was so easy, I almost doubted myself, But I was like, I got this.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. So having the study material kind of helped you to gain confidence and to have like not have that self-doubt and just starting to go like I can actually do this. I'm grasping it
Hmm.
and just send it. And then also the exam itself, you found it really easy. Well, not really easy, but it was easy where it's like you were like, I should have passed this like years ago. So it's very interesting to see that because it's like when we are ready and when we prepare and when we study and learn and we have a good foundation in engineering, we are
Hmm.
able to look at this exam and go look at it from a different perspective of like
Right.
this exam was fair, right? Whereas a lot of times, probably previously when you took the exam, you got out of there and you were like, man, that exam was hard. And you just all
Right.
about, right? It's all about like how prepared are you, right? How, do you know your material well? And that's what
Hmm.
really this exam is about. And I think, part of it why I really like to do these interviews is so that people get encouraged to start believing in themselves and believe that they can do it. I had an interview a couple weeks ago with the student's pratic, and he failed it a couple times, and he said the same words as you did earlier, discouraged, and then doubting my whole career, and just like reconsidering is this the career path. Uh, the same thing. He described the same exact thing, and I'm just like, I wonder how many people actually are going through that right now, right? And so having you guys here and just sharing your experience and seeing that you guys were able to overcome that and be able to pass, it's amazing. And so yeah, so I want to take this time and just to thank you for sharing that with us and sharing your anxiety and how you overcame that. I really liked how you said that you would take some couple days off if you felt like you were anxious. I've never heard
Hmm.
that before because usually I recommend you guys to show up every day and try to stay consistent and study, right? That's
Hmm.
something I usually tell you guys. I do have a lot of students who have like that high anxiety, just the
Hmm.
anxiety around this whole test because of, they failed it a couple times. You start having that. Um, how how did you come up with that, like just to take a couple days off and then come back, and were you not afraid if it would be difficult to go back to studying and then also like forgetting some of the material, like you were so confident about this method? Have you tried it before? How did you come across it?
Now I don't recommend taking too many days off. Maybe a day or two in between,
Okay.
but not too many because like you said, you can get off balance with your studying and thinking and processing. But for me, like for my anxiety, I have to kind of step away from what's making me anxious and then come back with a fresh mind so that I can be able to absorb the information better. Because when you get, especially when you're tired, you're not gonna grasp the concept being tired or sleepy, and so once and I know a lot of things that make you anxious is when you don't understand something. I know for me that does. When I don't understand it, I get real anxious and I don't want to work because and so I just kind of like step back, take a few breaths, and then I'll say, okay, well, tomorrow I'll come back and see, is it better? And then, or I'll take another approach. I'll find other resources that may, kind of help me through the process. But like I said, your course was more than enough. Um, Outside of the Lindbergh, I did use it a little bit because you broke it down versus where the Lindbergh book didn't, and I was like, okay, this is what they're saying, where you were kind of explaining a little bit more. So, like I said, the other resources that I used prior to your course were good, but they didn't break it down how you did, and so you made me feel a lot more comfortable with taking breaks
Did
because
you do?
I know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, because I know because I knew that I could come back to you and I can replay a video for you to break it down a little bit more or something like that.
Okay. Did you do anything else to overcome your anxiety?
Exercise.
Okay.
I worked out. I exercised. I didn't want to because this studying can be very time consuming, and so I tried to keep exercising as well because I do work out a lot, and I knew I was when I started studying for this test, I was gonna have to, you know, stop working out as much as I did. So I did incorporate that into my studying so that I didn't get burnt out and I have a fresh mind. And I can burn a lot of energy and I won't be so anxious because at that point for the first I was like a zombie because all I did was, and then I worked full time. So I was working, then I studied, because you recommended at least 10 hours a week. And then on the weekends, I'll get up and study for about 5 or 6, like an 8 hour day. I work 7 days a week, or more. And so that's kind of how, and I was just burnt out by June when I took it.
Okay. So you did burn out at the end.
Yeah, I did burn out at the end, but I just couldn't just stop. Like I said, I don't recommend when you get anxious and tired just to take a whole week off. I do not recommend that. Maybe a day or two and then come back because you gotta zone in, and that's kind of how I did. So I didn't lose focus.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Let's see. The day of the exam, you go in, it's
Mhm.
your sixth time. How did you feel that day?
The day of, I felt it was a different feeling for the first few times. It was totally different. I feel confident. I feel like I woke up that morning and said, "This is gonna be the last time." And I feel confident in going in and knowing that I knew this information. And so when I got in there, I checked in and I started the exam and I was like, "This is too easy." So this was too easy. So your course really, really, I highly recommend your course to anyone who is preparing for the exam.
Thank you. Do you remember how much did you spend in the morning and then how much did you spend in the afternoon session?
I made sure that I used all of my time.
Okay.
I made sure that I used all of my time. I did finish, however, I did finish a little early, for the morning and afternoon. But when I did finish the first 55 questions for the morning session, I would go back to review because I did have to change some stuff um, to make sure that I didn't miss anything or check the wrong thing. And so I did use all of my time because I didn't want to. I was like, this is my last time.
Mm.
So I made sure I used all of the whole 5 hours, five and a half hours.
Okay. Did you have problem with time management or you had like plenty of time to go back and review your questions and all that?
I think for the morning part I was a little kind of behind, but it wasn't to the point where I couldn't finish every question.
Mm,
Um,
okay. Do you remember how many questions you guessed?
I probably guess I would say it was out of 110 questions, probably 10 that I guessed.
10? Okay. 10
Yeah,
total? Like,
10 total.
okay. 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 Now that you have your EIT, how do you feel?
I feel great. I feel good, and I feel getting this um EIT made me more confident in knowing that I can pass the PE.
That's awesome. Did Effie had any impacts in your professional life so far?
No, it actually hasn't. Like I said, my first job, I was working in R&D, so it wasn't an emphasis on getting your license. However, it was encouraged to get it. It was incentives in getting your license. And this job that I have now, it's not emphasis on getting, having your EIT. However, it is strongly encouraged as well. And that's just something that I just wanted to have for myself and, feeling accomplished in my career. Like I said, I don't want to be overlooked for certain jobs and leadership roles in my career. So that's why I wanted to get it.
Okay. Now, last question, and this is a question I like to ask a lot of our students. If a student comes up to you
Hmm.
and they that student is going through similar situation as you, they've taken this exam so many times, um, what would you say to them? What advice would you give them so that they can keep going and pass their FE?
First, I would highly recommend your course. And then I would just say, do not give up. Do not give up because I was in that place where I didn't want to study anymore because, like I said, it's very time consuming. But do not give up. Just take that time and dedication. It will make you feel very fulfilled, and it can also change your career path as well. And so you just don't want to get boxed in and have limitations on what you can do as a civil engineer. And so that was my greatest motivation to get my EIT. And I would encourage anyone to pursue it. Don't get discouraged. Just take the time to lock in and study just for 3 months, 3 or 4 months can change your whole career path. So
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. DeAnna, thank you so much for taking the time and for joining me today and sharing your FE experience.
thank you.